Welcome inside episode 472 of the Locked On Senators podcast. I'm Ross Levitan on the outskirts of enemy territory in Winnipeg, Manitoba, alongside Brandon Pillar up in the Blue Mountains in Pilsy. It is an Ottawa Senators game day.
I can't believe we made it here. It's been a long time, and as far as I'm concerned, this is the first game of the year for the Sens, so let's hope they come out with a bang.
We'll have a full preview of tonight's matchup against the Calgary Flames, explain why we're not going to North Dakota this weekend. Ridley Greig is back doing his thing in Brandon, and a whole lot more. This is the Locked On Senators podcast, your team every day.
Locked On Senators, your daily podcast on the Ottawa Senators. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
Today is Thursday, January 13th, Pilsy. It's feeling like opening night. What are the emotions going into a hockey game for the Ottawa Senators?
I know, crazy, eh? A hockey podcast talking about actually playing a hockey game. I'm fired up for Sens hockey, that's for sure, Ross. Especially, this is a silver lining on the fact that I'm supposed to be on a plane right now heading to Winnipeg to go to North Dakota. We had planned to watch the Sens versus Jets. Postponed. Okay, you know what? That's fine. It happens. So we're going to go to Nodak, catch a game there. Hey, they're playing 2 games there. Let's catch 2 games at Nodak. Yeah, that didn't happen either, as those games versus Omaha are also postponed. So that's why I'm here at my studio and not sitting beside you on the couch there, unfortunately.
Yep, that's the way the world is right now. And there's not much we can do except hope that they find a way to reschedule this game. They said
we still got tickets.
They might not be able to, and if that's the case, they'll go off points percentage for the conference final. We're making a pact, though. We are seeing Jake Sanderson live at some point this year.
Before he's an Ottawa Senator. We need to do it before he's a Senator.
Exactly. Enough's enough. Like, I got unlucky when I went down in November. He was sick, didn't play. And then this whole fiasco where it is an outbreak on the North Dakota side. Yeah. We thought we were in the clear because Omaha shut down their program 2 weeks ago. We're like, oh, they'll just be back right in time. All good. No, not quite the case. So Unfortunately, no trip to the Ralph this weekend, but some Sens prospects did have themselves a night. But before we get to that, back to the Senators organization, we're going to preview the Calgary game at the end of today's show. There are some lineup notes we have to get to, but the AHL squad played yesterday afternoon. You caught that game. What was your impression and who stood out?
Yeah, well, I caught the first 2 periods. I couldn't catch the third period, which is too bad. That's when the Sens actually finally got some pucks in the net. And hey, it was old friends, Igor Sokolov. He gets one from the red line. I mean, talk about having one hell of a shot when you're just scoring goals from the red line. Now, obviously a fluke goal that just gets past the Marley's goalie there. But then Lassie Thompson's goal was an absolute beauty. He floats in from the blue line, has time and space, gets into that high slot and just wires a wrist shot in. So you love to see Lassie getting the offense going. I think that's a big part of his game and boosts his confidence. But ultimately, Ross, the Sens lose to the Marlies 4-2, and that's a really disheartening loss. They need to be winning those games.
Yeah, still last in their division right now, Pilsy, and that's not going to help in any way. If you're curious, yes, Michael Del Zotto extended his AHL point streak to 3 games. He had an assist.
It's on fire.
Now has 5 apples and 3. And
8,
3
I
goals.
think I checked. He's got 8 points. Yeah, 8 points.
5 plus 3, buddy. Let's go.
Yeah, so he's been doing good. Although there was times where he needed a bit of a heat check there, Ross. Like he's playing a little too confident. Like he was leading the team up the ice on the power play and just sends the softest, nonchalant pass across the ice. The Leafs penalty killer is surprised that it's there. He gets it and he goes on a breakaway. Luckily, he gets bailed out by Gus there. But it was just one of those moments where like, what is that? Like, that is way too much confidence. But when you're lighting it up like him, you can't blame him. And funny enough, his last time in the AHL was with the Connecticut Whale 10 years ago. So it's been a while since Delhi's been in the Always Hungry League, and he's staying hungry.
Lassie Thompson, 1 goal, but also 6 penalty minutes. He had a penalty in each period, interference, then slashing, then tripping. So he's got to work on staying out of the box. And you mentioned Gus getting his first start since early December, his first start in the AHL this season, or did he get any in already? It's his second start down in the AHL this season. Still looking for his first win, but great to see him play well. 27 saves there on 30 shots.
I mean, it's great just to see him play. Like, you can put a period there. Like, it's incredible how long it's been since this guy's played. And I thought he looked pretty good. Like, the 2 goals that I saw the Marlies score, it was more classic Sens, a case of defensive breakdown, and literally a Leafs player is wide open and has all the time and space to make a quick play, and not much Gus could have done there. So, and then one of them, I believe, was an empty netter at the end. So I think for Gus, that's a good way to get back, and I think it's going to be good for him to get a bunch of starts down in Belleville, because he needs them, and Belleville needs someone to really bail them out. They need to steal a couple games there, because the streak that they're going on, just barely losing these games, is not going to cut it. They need to start putting some win streaks together here.
Yeah, and let's hope they can. One perfect transition away from the Marlies and into the Toronto Maple Leafs losing 2-1 last night, and Sens abroad, Ryan Dzingel scoring both goals for the Arizona Coyotes. That you just love to see. So in the past week, the Leafs have blown a 3-goal lead, or was it a 4-goal lead? No, it was 4-1.
It was 4-1, yeah.
3-goal lead and lose 2-1 to the Arizona Coyotes.
That's tough. Yeah, that's real tough. So shout out Zinger for keeping the rivalry going. He's still a Sen at heart, and he knows he's got to bury those 2 up against the Leafs.
Yeah, we'll see. Maybe he'll add a third tour of duty to
I honestly wouldn't even be that surprised. Jesus.
I was surprised when he came back the first time, but now you can't surprise me. I'm a Sens fan.
Yeah, nothing shocks us anymore, right? Jeez.
All right, Pillsy. So we've got into the Belleville Senators. We still have more to come with the Ottawa Senators on a game day. If you don't remember the last time they played, well, we don't talk about it, but if we did, it was a 6-0 loss to those Toronto Maple Leafs on New Year's Day. And you have to go back to Philadelphia before that. The last game, the Senators scored a goal. Artem Zub had put the Sens up 3-2. They lose that game in overtime, and it's been a long wait until now, when the Senators are in Calgary, ready to take on the Flames, a team who's struggling of late, lost 3 in a row, but they're still a well above 500 team, a playoff team at that, middle of the pack if you're looking at the entire league, but certainly improved off of what the Senators last saw from the Flames last season.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think it just took a while for Daryl Sutter to kind of set in and really have guys buy into his approach and figure it out. And when you get the goaltending that they're getting, like Markstrom is now proving he's worth that big, massive contract they signed him to out of free agency. And then their backup, Dan Vladar, has been very good too. So it's going to be interesting to see which one we see tonight up against the Flames. But either way, this is a team that has a lot of depth too. Like, their forward depth is very good, and the top guys are performing. Like, Johnny Gaudreau had a bit of a down season for his standards last year. That's not the case this year. Like, he's been absolutely lighting it up. And Elias Lindholm, I think he's obviously not to the extent, but remember how for years it was Alex Barkov is the most underrated player in the league, underrated player. Now, I'm not saying he's at Barkov level, but I don't think people quite give Elias Lindholm the credit he deserves, because in the past couple seasons, he's been a number 1 center there, and he's been quietly lighting it up. So that's definitely someone that the Sens are going to have a tough time with.
If you're just listening, again, you can watch the show on YouTube. We appreciate all the subscriptions and thumbs up on our videos. It goes a long way for the algorithm. But the Calgary Flames, we've got their lineup there. And if you're just listening, I'll run through it quickly. Their top line, it's been together for pretty much the entire season. Elias Lindholm at center with Johnny Gaudreau and Matthew Tkachuk on either wing. The second line, Sean Monahan in between Blake Coleman and Andrew Mangiapane. The third line, Mikhail Backlund between Dylan Dubé and Brett Ritchie. Almost said Nick. Brett Ritchie in Calgary. And then the fourth line is Adam Ruzicka in between Milan Lucic and Trevor Lewis. That is the most Daryl Sutter line that I have ever seen. On defense, Noah Hannafin with Rasmus Andersson. Second line is Shillington with Chris Tanev. And the third pair, again, this has Daryl Sutter's name all over it, Nikita Zadorov and Eric Goodbranson. You mentioned as well, doesn't matter whether it's Markstrom or Vladar, both these tendies can stop the puck. What's your overall impression of how Daryl Sittler's... why am I saying it twice?
You're obsessed with Daryl Sittler over here.
Daryl Sutter.
Sutter, there you
Daryl
go.
Sutter. There's only like 18 Sutter brothers. Jesus.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts on this lineup and how the Sens match up against it?
Well, it's interesting because, I mean, a lot of people roll on their eyes when DJ Smith says this is a big, tough team, so we need Scott Sabrin and we need Josh Brown in here. But like you mentioned, this Daryl Sittler team, Ross, is just stacked with big players, Daryl Sutter, I mean. And there's so, like, Zadorov and Goodbranson, that's a big bottom pair. Then Lucic, Ruzicka, and Lewis, like, that's a tough line to play against. So I kind of see what he's saying there, and you don't want to just get bullied out there. So I kind of get that point. But yeah, this is a team that plays hard, gritty, tough, grinding hockey. And then they finish it off with some skilled players up top that when you give them the chances, they're going to make you pay. So you really have to be on top of your physical game. You can't back down at all with this team. And that Nick Paul line, they're going to have their work cut out for them. Like that's... He's going to be used in a shutdown role, it sounds like. I mean, that's classic Nick Paul line. So I think that's going to be interesting to see how that line fares.
Usually it's a little bit better to have your third line as the checking line rather than have 3 third lines.
Yes.
When you take Timmy out here, it really changes the complexion of the Senators' entire organization. We'll get to their lines in just a minute, but a couple more notes on the Calgary Flames. Andrew Mangiapane is going for the Cy Young.
Yeah.
The award that's it's just like the Masters, you know, you're looking at the green jacket for the worst plus minus. You have some fun with the Cy Young as well, a guy who has a ton of goals but not many assists. So as a MLB pitcher would have a lot of wins and not so many losses. Mangiapane, 18 goals, Pilsy. Do you know how many assists?
3.
Yeah.
Yeah.
3.
And like he's been able to keep this going all season, Ross. Like look at his shooting percentage, 21.4%. Like that's pretty damn impressive. And he's a guy that we got to see at international stage, right? Connor Brown and Nick Paul, they know him well from playing with him. And he had a good tournament. He was MVP of the tournament, no?
He was, yep.
Yeah, so clearly Mangiapane is coming into his own here. And he's a guy that for a top 6, he can be sneaky and maybe someone that you don't think you're too worried about. And then he gets time and space. And yeah, 18 goals, 21.4 shooting percentage. Like, he'll make you pay too.
Yes, and the Calgary Flames as a team will make you pay. They average the 4th most shots per game of any team in the league, just behind the Panthers, Bruins, and Los Angeles Kings. So that's some pretty good company up at the top there. And they don't allow a whole lot either. So that's a recipe for the success. They're top 10 in fewest shots against per game. They've got a great penalty kill, as you'd expect, under Daryl Sutter.
There you go.
As they're killing off 83.7% of their penalties. All right, let's get to the Ottawa Senators lines in tonight's game. It's Norris, Tkachuk, Batherson. That ain't changing. Injuries withstanding. Now, beyond that, Pilsy, it's just insane. You take out a 19-year-old, a teenager here for 2 more days. As we've got a birthday coming up for young Timmy Superstar. But you take a 19-year-old out of the lineup, and this whole dynamic changes in a hurry. You've got Nick Paul in between Alex Formenton and Connor Brown. Then you've got Gambrell between Sanford and Watson. And then Tierney between Ennis and Sabrin, as Coach DJ Smith thought it was important to get Sabrin in. Although I've seen Sabrin fight, and he's fearless. He's gone up. He's fought Ryan Reeves. He's fought other big players in the league. I think he might have even fought Lucic before, but he ain't beating him in a fight. And I don't think he's deterring Lucic from doing a damn thing out there.
Yeah, that's the thing. Like, Ross, I don't really like these lines. Like, it just, obviously the top line is amazing, but like going down the lineup, they just don't make a lot of sense. Like, Paul, Brown, and Formenton, isn't that almost the exact same makeup as Stützle, Paul, and Brown? It just didn't work, right? Like, Paul and Brown, they're a good duo, but then having a guy with speed and offensive capabilities, that's kind of getting anchored down by those 2 defensive players. It just doesn't make sense to have Formenton there for me. And then Ennis and Tierney, Small, like Ennis, little water bug out there, small, fast, offensive player. Tierney, a guy who doesn't play with a lot of pace, but he can dish the puck. And then you get Sabrin on that line. Like, that just doesn't make a whole lot of sense either. And then going down, you can even go down to the decor. I'll list them off here for you, Ross. So they got Shabbat playing with JBD. Love that.
I like that.
That's great.
Hometown game for JBD, front of friends and family for the first time.
Yep, exactly. So I like Shabbat and JD. That's great. Holden and Zub, that's fine as well. But then you look at Brandstrom and Josh Brown. Like, those are two guys that haven't played in months. And we talked about Brandstrom getting an opportunity here to play on the right side. Okay, that's not happening. We talked about Brandstrom getting an opportunity to play with a good, steady D partner. It may be Artem Zub. Yeah, that's not happening. So it just doesn't make sense to me. Like, why not do Shabbat, JBD, Brandstrom, Zub, Holden, Brown? Because then you get a younger player with someone more experienced and more stable. You know what I mean? Because Shabbat can help out JBD. Zub can help out Brandstrom. Holden can help out Josh Brown. Like, I don't know. I just wish they would give Brandstrom more of a chance here. And every day that goes by, Ross, for me, is the writings on the wall that this organization doesn't have a lot of faith in Eric Brandstrom. And I don't know where he fits into their long-term plans these days, because it seems like they're just throwing him out there. Like, they're not trying to piece him in a good spot. They're just like, okay, well, we got to get you out there, so we'll just toss you on the bottom pair with Josh Brown, a guy who hasn't played in a long time, doesn't complement your playing style very much, and is only going to play 10 minutes or whatever. So I don't like the way they've set up these lines, because I don't think there's a lot of chemistry throughout them.
One thing about that bottom pair, and I agree with you, I'd like to see Brandstrom in a more elevated role, but they did play well together at the end of last season. Remember, before Shabbat got hurt and that pushed Branny up the lineup, it was him and Josh Brown, and Brown played his best stretch of hockey that he did with the Senators. He was +5 in 10 games, Pillsy. Obviously, points you're not looking at with Josh Brown, but he was a guy who was out there. He had a ton of hits, ton of block shots, and he wasn't as much of a liability in his own end. So I wonder if it could work. Maybe.
We just haven't seen that Josh Brown this year. And
I know,
to be completely honest, we haven't seen that Eric Brandstrom this year. Even in the AHL, Ross, like you and I, we both know what Eric Brandstrom looked like in the AHL this year, and it was not good. So
yeah,
I don't know. I mean, I guess in that sense, yeah, you got to shelter these guys and put them in a lower role here, but we'll see how it goes. But Nikita Zaitsev's got to be close to coming back here, right? And then when that happens, that shifts everything on the decor as well.
Yeah, we'll see who's in the next couple weeks, because the Senators are about to play a ton of hockey. Oh, postponements withstanding again there. So we'll see. But they should, if they're going to play 82 games this year, Pillsy, then they got to play a lot of hockey coming up, because they're one of two teams in the National Hockey League that have played less than 30 games. They're at 29, so it'll be game number 30 tonight. And then the New York Islanders have played 28 games. They also are back in action tonight. So we got still more to get to on this preview. I keep pausing because it feels so weird to do a preview show. Only the second game. Yeah. Only the second game since December 18th. Almost a month between games for the Ottawa Senators. And it was just a weird one on New Year's Day that we do not talk about on this show. We do talk about Ridley Greig on this show, friend of the show, who's been on twice with us. He scored twice in his return to Brandon. And those weren't just 2 goals, Pillsy. Those are 2 highlight reel beauties.
Yeah, I'm not sure if it was the first or second goal, but Sens Prospect tweeted out a highlight video.
He's got both up there. Our boy Sens Prospect doesn't miss.
I should have guessed that. But the one goal that I saw and was watching was just incredible. Like, Ridley Greig brings it from his own end. Nice passing by the Wheat Kings to set up their power play breakout. They come out through the neutral zone. He's flying, carrying the puck, heads into the offensive zone, gives it off to his teammate, goes right to the net, falls down, is on his knees doing the electric slide, and he gets the pass back in the give and go and buries it back door. Like, this kid is absolutely electric, and he's going to continue making a mockery of the WHL down there, because things are too easy for Ridley down there. It's a damn shame he didn't get to show his talents at an international level.
Okay, I've been holding on to this for a while, and maybe we don't tag him yet, but I had to post this. This was Elite Prospects' reaction to him being selected 28th overall by the Senators.
Ridley Greig. Ridley and Greig. That is an awful pick. Like, we knew somebody was going to pick him in the first round, but that is an awful pick. Holy crap.
Awful pick, according to Elite Prospects. Well, Ridley Greig up to 30 points in 20 games. So how are you? That guy's got to be penciled in for a spot on the Ottawa Senators next year, no?
Yeah, I don't know. To be honest, I would like to see him play some time in Belleville, and now it seems like their center depth is actually kind of figured out. But Chris Tierney would probably be heading out the door here, so that opens up a spot. But then you got to wonder what's going on with Colin White. I would like to see him play a little bit of time in Belleville, but it's not going to be long before Ridley Greig is up here lighting it up. Like we've talked about it a bunch. I just salivate when I start thinking about him on a line with Formanton. Like those guys, skill, speed, and grit is what you love to see from those two. And I think that would be a good 1-2 punch for a good third line. Maybe throw Connor Brown on the other side there to get some veteran defensive acquisition down there too. So I think that'd be awesome.
Remember, once he makes the team, he won't be playing right away. He's got 1 game suspension to sit out.
At
the NHL level.
That's hilarious.
All right, let's get into our lookout, our locked on player, and some keys to victory for tonight's game. Remember, it's in Calgary, so it's a 9:00 Eastern start for the Ottawa Senators before they take on the Edmonton Oilers on Saturday, a little back-to-back in Berta. Pilsy, you got a word from one of our favorite sponsors, though, before we get to that preview.
Ross, the Senators are back in action. I can't believe I'm actually saying it, and you too can get back in the action. Get off the sidelines now that the Sens are playing again. And we're hoping that it's now a regular schedule. You can get into a regular schedule, sitting on your couch and getting some action on the NHL. And the best way to do that is to go to betonline.ag, the trusted online sportsbook of the Locked On Podcast Network and the Locked On Senators podcast, because at betonline.ag, you can bet on the overs, unders, props, reverse puck line, money line. They got it all. And the best way to do that, go to betonline.ag, sign up, make a free account today, and use our promo code Locked On. We're hooking you guys up. So how it works is you use our promo code, you're going to get a 50% welcome bonus. So let's say you put $100 into your account when you join, bingo, bango, bongo, you're getting $50 in free play money. You can use that free play money all over betonline.ag and bring back some shekels for yourself. So guys, check it out today. betonline.ag, promo code Locked On for 50% welcome bonus. It's betonline.ag, your online sportsbook experts.
All right, Pilsy. So it's the Ottawa Senators looking for their 10th win of the season, going up against the Calgary Flames tonight. What's your key to victory for the Ottawa Senators?
My key to victory is don't fall into the trap of letting a Daryl Sutter game get you down. You know what I mean? Like, don't let the fact that they're hitting you hard, that they're playing a simple, gritty meat and potatoes type of game. Don't fall into that trap and get comfortable. You need to bring back that intensity. And I mean, if there's a team that Ottawa can match up well against, playing style, maybe not talent style, but playing style, it's the Calgary Flames, because DJ Smith prides himself and his team on the fact that they're coming to work every night. Sure, they may not have more talent, but they're not going to roll over and let these big teams, these big contending teams, just take advantage of them. They're going to play hard, gritty, grinding hockey as well. And that's why he brought 2 of the big boys in, whether you like it or not. That's the mindset there, right? So I think you just can't let the fact that these Flames are going to come out hard, they're going to hit you hard, don't let it get you down. You got to stick to your game plan, and I think they can hang tight with these guys if they can keep it to a low-scoring game, and if the defense doesn't have any of those major overlooks and just missed assignments.
You can't be losing after 2 periods if you're the Ottawa Senators. The Calgary Flames, when leading after 2 periods, are 15-0-1 this year. Have not lost in regulation, only 1 OT loss in 16 attempts when winning after the second period. So that's something, if you're the Senators, you got to look out for. When scoring first, Calgary's 13-4-3, to your point about Sutter-style hockey, where you just score first and you shut it down. If you're looking at goals against per period, the Flames have given up the 3rd fewest goals in the first period, and they've given up the 4th fewest goals in the 3rd period. So it's a team that starts games and ends games strong. you got to hope there's that mushy middle where you can take advantage in the second period. But of course, the second period hasn't necessarily been the Ottawa Senators' best period of the season, as we've seen in time and time again. But with the Senators, for me, I keep going back to it, but until they fix it, I'm going to continue to. Don't let a goal against turn into more than what it is. These guys, you saw it against Toronto multiple times. You saw it against Philadelphia and basically every other game this season, where 1 turns to 2, sometimes even 3. And then you can just point at that 3-minute stretch in the game and be like, all right, that's where it was lost. So they need a more consistent effort. And I expect them to come out a little bit flat in the first period. What is a saving grace is the fact they've been practicing in Calgary now for 3 days. You heard that great mic'd up yesterday from Drake Batherson on the Sens Twitter, but playing in the altitude, it affects them. Like he's saying, like the breathing's a little bit tougher up there. So It is important that they have had a few games or a few days already to prepare for tonight.
Yeah, exactly. And Ross, what's the thing? We don't want to talk about these games too much, but the last 2 games the Sens have played, what was the biggest detriment? No shots in the first 10 minutes.
Oh,
they come out so friggin' flat.
I'd forgotten.
I mean, I just want first shift, that top line, Norris, Batherson, and Brady, just get into the zone and fire one quick shot on net. Josh Norris, shoot first center, get into the zone and just get a puck on whoever is playing, because they cannot go 5+ minutes without a shot to start a game. That's just unacceptable. So that's a big one.
Yeah, well, it was 13 minutes in the first against Philly and then 10 minutes against Toronto. So let's say key to victory, get a shot in the first 5 minutes of the game. All right?
Yeah. Let's start with that. Baby steps here. You don't give steak to a baby, right?
All right, let's get the opponents out of the way and finish off with our locked on player. So who are you looking out for the most on the Calgary Flames?
Well, we talked about I have 2 choices here. I'm gonna stick with the top one though, and it's the guy I talked about, Elias Lindholm. I just think he's so underrated. Anytime you get to center a line between Johnny Gaudreau and Matthew Tkachuk, that's quite an honor. You're getting 2 of the best you are getting the 2 best players on your team, and a small skilled guy that has the puck on a string in Johnny Gaudreau, and then a Matthew Tkachuk style player on the other side of you. He's got to feel invincible sometimes. All he has to do is get those guys the puck and figure out how to play with them, which he has. So Elias Lindholm is my lookout player because I really think this guy's an absolute stud.
My lookout player is his line mate, Matthew Tkachuk. Now, thank God for the All-Canadian division last year, because it certainly threw cold water on the Tkachuk versus Tkachuk storyline, because it was cute in the first year when they had their first 2 meetings. But after that, you're like, okay, they're 2 brothers. They play against each other every once in a while. We see that in the NHL often. There's lots of brother duo.
And they're not going to fight. Let's just get over that.
Yes. That being said, and shout out Spencer Blake, he said this is his least favorite stat ever, but I like it in these situations. In his career against the Ottawa Senators, Matthew Tkachuk's got 15 points in 18 games. Brady Tkachuk's got 7 in 14 against the Flames. So that's probably pretty close to par for each of these guys. Matthew Tkachuk still at this point in his career. Now he's 2 years older, so he's got that on him. 31 points in 33 games. He's like a point per game player. And I'm going to be worried that he's going to continue his hot streak right now, because we know what he brings away from the puck. Yeah. But this guy has been on an absolute heater. He went 3 straight games without a point, ending the day after his birthday there, December 12th. Since then, he's got 20 points in 19 games. He's plus 11, and he's been averaging 18 minutes a game. This guy's on an absolute heater right now. And he was the only guy who didn't get COVID. Somehow, some way, they had 20 players on their COVID list, and Matthew Tkachuk was not among them. So I'm looking out for him tonight as a guy who's going to drive offense and get under the skin of some Ottawa Senators players.
Well, just what was Brady's famous quote, Ross? Why he didn't get COVID? I'm just out here living just life.
Following the rules.
Following the rules. So that's what the Tkachuks are doing, I guess.
Yep.
Not that people that got COVID weren't following the rules. Just a quick disclaimer there. But yeah, all right. So I'll move on to my locked on player, Ross. And for this one, it's got to be Nick Paul. This is a big opportunity for him. He kind of poured cold water on it, being like, it's old hat. I played center before. My role doesn't really change. But like he was playing on the fourth line and then getting bumped up to the second line and now playing center is a big deal. So let's see how he can handle this. And let's see how the dynamic works with Formenton there instead of Tim Stützle. We didn't love the dynamic when Stützle was there. It just wasn't doing it for us. It didn't create much offense, and it wasn't the shutdown line it was supposed to be. So let's see if Nick Paul can change things with Formenton here, even though it's a short sample size, right? Like the second Timmy's back, he's back down in a bottom six role, and Timmy's taking that spot. So let's see what Nick Paul can do in this small sample size here.
I'm locked on Eric Brandstrom tonight because I think he's going to get some power play time. I think he'll play on the second unit. Yep. So you have that going for you in itself. And without Timmy, like, do you think about going 2 defensemen on the top unit and allow Brandstrom to snap it around with the top guys up there?
Maybe. I mean, what happened in the past? Sanford got those minutes, right?
Exactly.
So maybe that will be the case there, or maybe a guy like Tyler Ennis, like obviously
best
not
ever
recent.
Do it.
Yeah, best ever, lace him up, as Drake said. But he's a guy that had success early on the power play. It's been kind of a dry spell for Tyler Ennis here. He's been in and out of the lineup too, so that'll happen.
I mean, look who he's playing with tonight.
Exactly. But he's playing down there because he hasn't, like, he still looks good out on the ice, but he hasn't been producing recently. So it'd be nice to see Tyler Ennis get back on the board there too. But Brandstrom, that's a big one. Like, finally, he's getting back into NHL action. Let's see how he does.
Yeah, what I'm most locked on is how much time is he going to get? How much opportunity is he going to get to really make an impact on the game? Because he's the type of player that isn't going to do a whole lot if he gets 11 or 12 minutes. Let him fly a little bit.
Yep,
let him go out, play 17, 18 minutes, even upwards of 20, and see what happens. Woo. But I'm pretty nervous.
I don't think he gets 20 minutes, Ross.
I think DJ's going to keep him on a bit of a more of a leash, especially he's obsessed with the idea that Calgary's a big, heavy team, so he has to match that. And I think that's a little barbaric of a way of thinking, where why don't you just try to find ways that you can beat them? Because when I see a third pair of Zadorov and Gabranson, I don't see them as like, oh, we gotta be as physical as them. No, chip and chase, make them pivot and try to go back and retrieve pucks. And I don't know who's making the first pass out of the zone on that pair.
Yeah,
but you better be.
Let's hope it's Goody.
You better be man on man in the neutral zone, because you should be able to step up like a cornerback or a safety and have pucks go the other way in a hurry. So I'm hoping that Brandstrom can move pucks for the Senators and allow that to create some offense and extended zone time, because that game against Toronto that we don't talk about, if I'm going to talk about it, they didn't have the puck nearly enough to win that game. So focus on puck possession would be my final key to a Senators victory right now, and get some saves. We don't know yet whether it's Matt Murray or Anton Forsberg, but
who do you want in this game, Ross? Forsberg?
I think I've seen enough of Matt Murray, but I understand why. His time in Ottawa is not done. I throw Forsey back in there as long as he's 100%. We know he had a bit of an extended stay on the COVID list, but again, he's got a few practices under his belt. I'm not overly concerned about who it is, more that whoever it is going to stop pucks.
Yeah, I think I would go to Forsberg too, just because, man, that was, once again, we don't talk about it, but that game up against the Leafs was just brutal. Matt Murray's got to have PTSD from that one. Like six goals is tough. So, and we all know he did not have a whole lot of luck up against Calgary, Edmonton, or even, I don't think, Vancouver. Any of the West Coast teams last season did not go well for Matt Murray. So, yeah, I think you get Forsberg in here just because he's a little more comfortable, and I think the boys feel a little better playing in front of him. Like, the boys play flat in front of Murray. I don't know what it is. So I don't want to see that to get the year started, the first game of the year, Ross. So, yeah, I'd go Forsberg as well.
Let us know in the comments on YouTube, who would you want to see start in goal tonight? Would it be Matt Murray or Anton Forsberg? You can also follow the show on Twitter at Sens Central, on Instagram, lockedon.senators. And if you missed any of our episodes this week, be sure to go check them out. We've got Angus Crookshank, we've got Carson Latimer, and Sens Central citizen Karam all the way from Wales, Pilsy. So we did our best here. Yeah. We did our best here with 12 straight days without Ottawa Senators hockey. But no longer has the Senators returned to the ice in Calgary. Again, Twitter, Sens Central, live tweets throughout the game, and then join us for the postcast.
Yes.
The postcast makes its return on YouTube. So another reason to go subscribe now so you know exactly when we jump on after the game. And if you're like, oh man, I'm working, I'm sleeping, it's a late game, you can wake up and in your audio feeds, you'll have our postcast and then tomorrow's regular edition of Locked On Senators dropping around noon, where we'll preview a weekend that sees, oh my God, another Sens game. What are we going to do here? Back to back? Holy moly.
Crazy.
Let's get it all started. Enjoy the rest of your day. Enjoy the game tonight, and we'll chat in the postcast afterwards. For Brandon Pillar, I'm Ross Levitan. This has been the Locked On Senators podcast, your team every day.